Hey everyone, Dan at Ochco Bushcraft. Well, what I've been waiting for has finally happened. We finally got snow. In fact, for the past 2 days, it's been snowing up here in the mountains. And I'm actually back up close to high camp, so I've got a nice dry camp and a fire pit and everything real close to me. But I wanted to take on a challenge today. So I actually didn't even bring my bushcraft pack out or my bushcraft belt. The only thing I brought out was my small survival pack. Now you guys might remember on a previous video that I laid my small survival pack out on a table and showed you guys all the contents. You can go back and search for that video, Basic Survival Kit. Two things I've changed. I've added a little bit more extensive first aid kit. Since I got to do wilderness first aid training a couple months ago, I found that to be essential. And the other thing is in addition to my Baco saw, I substituted a different knife. I now carry a Becker BK7. I customized the micarta handles. I wanted something bright colored so if I drop it I could find it real easy. This little knife, BK7, is kind of a nice halfway between knife, I guess is the best way to say it. On my survival kit, I just carry one knife and a Swiss Army knife in my pocket, and that's it. My survival kit is lightweight because whenever I'm out backpacking and hiking, I always want to be able to move, cover lots of distance, so I have a lightweight pack. But you know, it's not as effective as my BK16 for carving, and it's not as good as the BK9 for chopping, but it's a nice in-between. It does both pretty darn well, and I'm happy with it. So I'm working a scenario today. I'm out here in the snow, and for some reason I can't make it back to my vehicle. Maybe a snowstorm has come in, it's close to dark, and I don't want to try to walk out of here. Or I just need to hunker down for a few hours and wait the storm out. Whatever the case, I'm working from a scenario that this is a real survival situation and I need to get out of the weather and I need to get warm. So I've gathered up a few materials just to save time for the video. And other than that, I'm going from scratch. So if I run into any problems along the way, you guys are going to get to see those. If everything goes as planned, you'll get to see that too. So first thing I did is I found a place right behind me, underneath the canopy of a couple trees. So it's a lot drier back in here than it is out here. There's actually several inches of snow now out in the opening. This area has very little snow. It's got a canopy right above me. So I chose that area. Also gives me some windbreak. And let me show you what I did. I just took a single pole right here, leaned it up on a branch, and used another pole here, leaning up. And that's it. That's all I've done there. And then I grabbed a bunch of broken off chunks of wood that were laying around on the ground right here, and I made a little fire reflector so that I can get me a fire going. And that's basically my primary concern. Like I said, I'm pretending that this is a real survival scenario and that I'm going to have to hunker down for a while and there's just no way around it. So I found a place for a shelter, grabbed a pole, set it up real quick. I got 4 old chunks of log stacked up, and right down here I've got some pieces of bark to set a fire on. So with that in mind, as I said, I don't have my bushcraft pack, so I don't have wool blankets, I don't have my tarp, I just have my emergency survival kit items. So number 1 item, I have a 55-gallon drum liner that I can use for emergency shelter. I can use it filled up with pine needles to lay on top of. I can use it for a roof. And then again, I have this nice reflective space blanket. Basically, I'm just going to throw it right up over the top. By the way, just to mention it, in a survival kit, I like to have as much stuff as I can orange. Number one, it aids in my rescue if I should need to be rescued. And two, if I'm, in a hurry, things are hectic, things are chaotic. If you drop green survival cord down in the grass, you might be hunting for it. A green handled knife, you might be hunting for it. In my bushcraft stuff, I use, I have another one of these. It's green. I have camouflage paracord. I have my card handles dyed black and green. But in a real survival situation, so for my survival kit, that's what it's specifically for. I like to have everything orange. As I set it down, I drop it, something happens, I can find it real easy. And also if someone has to come looking for me, they're going to see that bright orange reflector, orange paracord. I'll even start hanging streamers of this from trees just to show off my location. So anyway, I'm going to tie this blanket up real quick to the ridge pole. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to tie it off over here too. Like I said, I can improve upon this later if things start looking like, you know what, I'm going to be stuck out here for longer than I thought. I can start, putting up sides, hauling in more debris. I can make this a nice cozy place. But for now, I'm just figuring, you know what, I'm just going to have to wait it out for a couple hours and then I can hike out of here. So I'm just showing you guys a quick way that I would set up an emergency shelter based on items that I carry in my kit and that I recommend that each and every one of you have in your kit. So I've tied this off up on this pole. I'm going to go around behind and tie these corners back behind me, so I've got a lean-to, and this reflective side, once I get a fire going, is going to reflect all the heat right back on me, and I'm going to have a nice warm place to wait out the storm. Okay, that gives me a reflective lean-to get underneath and get out of the weather. Now, I don't want to be on the ground. That's going to suck my body heat out of me in minutes. So I've already cut some boughs and I'm going to stack them up right in here and give myself some insulation off the ground. Okay. I'm going to have a nice insulated ground pad underneath me. I've got reflection behind me and cover over my head. I showed you guys the fire reflector that I threw up. Just 4 logs stacked on top of each other with a log leaning behind them to hold them so they don't fall over. And I got some bark sitting down here to get a fire going. So that's my next step. And I'm not going to mess around. I'm going right to the cotton ball and Vaseline because this is a real situation. Okay, this tree behind me's got dead limbs, dead branches all over it. I've broken off quite a few. In fact, I'll get my gloves back on here so I don't freeze my hands. By the way, when you're out in this type of weather, you want to be appropriately dressed, appropriately prepared. I've got on Danner powder horn boots with 1,000 grams of Thinsulate. I've got 3 layers of wool underneath, base layer, midweight, and a heavyweight layer. And this is the Boreal shirt from Leicester River Bushcraft. I've been out in sub-zero temperatures with 35-mile-an-hour winds, so you know the chill factor on that was incredible, and stayed warm in this. And it's got a nice hood that it would pull up and over, tie this up around, so it helps a lot. Anyway, that's just part of being prepared, being dressed appropriately. If I get warm, I can just pull this off, tie it to the top of my backpack if I'm hiking. But it's better to have it than to get stuck out here and to not have it. So I want to break up some of these real quick. So I've got some smaller ones. And I've got a whole tree full of dead limbs right over my head to work with. So once I get this going, I can really start adding to it. And I think I'm just a little bit out of your view on the camera. I'll try to come around and give you guys a better shot here as soon as I get some wood piled up. Okay, I've got a nice little pile of broken branches. As I said, I'm not messing around. I'm treating this like it was a real emergency. So I've got cotton balls with Vaseline. I've got a lighter. I've got those windproof, waterproof matches. I just happened to grab my flint and steel to go ahead and use. I'm gonna put this down here in these branches that I've broken up. There we go, one strike. I got flame. Okay. Now I want to start getting more of those dry little branches on top that I had laid out. And I've got about 7 minutes burn time with that cotton ball. And unless something goes drastically wrong here, that should be plenty to get this going good. All right, like sit right over my head. I got a lot of this small dry twigs. And I'm just giving that cotton ball a little help, blow some of this other stuff into flame. Get some more. Everything's damp, so it's taking its sweet time, but it is burning. All right, a few more, these small ones, and then hopefully that'll get it going to where I can start putting some bigger stuff on there. Alrighty. Okay. Throw a few on there that are just a little bit bigger. And slowly but surely it's coming to life. And I will continue to feed it as I'm sitting here. Okay guys, I want to take you for a quick walk around here and get out of this smoke. I'm on the wrong side of the fire. So, the sun's coming out, but it is cold. It is very, very, very cold. All right. As you can see, I got some flame now. Fire's starting to take off pretty good. As I said, I got my shelter up. It only took a couple minutes. Once this thing starts putting out some heat, which I've got a lot of dry limbs stacked up here to start feeding it bigger stuff with. So once that starts putting out more heat, it's gonna reflect heat off this reflector. It's gonna reflect heat off this solar blanket that's behind me. I'm gonna be warm and snug sitting on those tree boughs. I can lean up against the tree and take a nap. I've got MREs and an MRE heater in my pack, and 2 canteens of water, so I'm going to stay hydrated. I'm going to have a hot meal. I'm going to be warm and dry. I'm going to wait out this storm and then hopefully go up to my rig and Worst case scenario, if this was a real survival situation, there's people who know exactly where I'm at. They know what time I'm supposed to be back. And if I don't show up, they're going to come looking for me. They're going to be able to follow my footprints in the snow if there's another storm and it wipes those out. I'm going to be feeding this fire a lot of wood, throwing green stuff on top to put up a lot of smoke. And as I said, other people know exactly where I'm at. They'd be able to find me. But anyway, in a real survival situation, this is how I would throw up a quick emergency shelter, get a fire going, and prepare myself to hunker down and wait out a storm. Thank you guys again for tuning in to Ochiko Bushcraft. Take care out there and enjoy yourself and be safe.